Hi, my name is Lester Thomas, and today I'm going to give a quick overview of the documentation for the ODA Component Accelerator project to show what documentation is available and also how is this documentation maintained. How would I add to the documentation that's available? The documentation is at this URL at the top, and it's in this read the docs format. And as you can see, there's a table of contents on the left hand side which starts with what we call the playbook, which is the introduction to the open digital architecture. It talks all about the project, how to join, and finally it shows the show and tell videos that we record at the end of each sprint of the ODA CA project. The next stage is a tutorial. So if you're new to the concept of an ODA component, the best place to start is this tutorial, which takes you through how to actually build an ODA component from scratch, and it uses the OpenAPI reference implementation as the source code for that component. The next piece is then shows the design guidelines. So the component or the component envelope follows a set of design guidelines showing all the metadata to fully describe an ODA component, and this takes you through the design guidelines. Then we come into more involved topics. So the components run on a canvas. So the next one shows the Helm charts for how to actually install and deploy and manage an ODA canvas. And then finally there's a description of the canvas has these Kubernetes operators. So how it actually works, how the control loop works is with Kubernetes operators. And this part actually takes you through, if I want to create a custom Kubernetes operator, goes all the way down into the code you need to create to actually build a custom operator to run in an ODA canvas. And very finally, there's a set of contributions guidance for if you're part of the project, how do you actually contribute? So this is the documentation that's already available. But how is it maintained, and if I wanted to add to it, how would I add to it? So firstly, all of the content that's in here is actually mastered just in the TM-Form ODA Git repositories. And if I look at this contributions guidance as an example, so the master of this is just the README file, which is in the ODA CA Docs repository within the normal GitHub. And so you can see that the documentation is just being built automatically using this open source Python framework, which is called Sphinx. And this is the homepage of Sphinx. And Sphinx lets you build a structure. It lets you actually define your content just in the normal way using things like README files. It can have images. It can even go into the source code itself and build documentation from source code. And so the Sphinx framework will take this source code and build it into this nice structure. And you can choose different formats. I've chosen to use this read the docs format. So this is how it works. And the actual documentation is published as a GitHub pages. So if I look at my cloned copy of this repository, the ODA CA Docs repository, you'll see what's being published in this public URL is actually in this docs folder, and so here's the published version of the documentation. As I said, it's generated by Sphinx, and the actual structure is maintained in a separate folder which is called Sphinx Documentation. So here's got all the structure for how to build, and it builds it into that the docs folder. And it's based on this Sphinx, which is like a Python framework for building documentation. You can see that there is a build clean.batch file, which will actually build the documentation from all of this source and put it into the published docs folder. So if I go into my console and I type build clean.bat, it'll go through, runs through a script written in Python that goes through and builds the documentation. Now at the moment it gives me one warning, and I'll describe what this warning is about later, so expect to see this one warning. Yeah, so that's the process of building it. So if I want to extend this contributions guidance, and what I was proposing to do is I'm going to build in a little section showing the CTK work that we've completed recently, and I'll build it into this contributions guidance. And so the source code for that CTK work is actually in the ODA component CTK repository, which I've got my local clone here, and there's already a README and a set of images available. So what I have to do is I have to actually put this in a folder within my Sphinx documentation. So I just create a new folder, CTK, and for now I'm just going to manually copy across the README and all the images that I want to be available in the documentation. So the source code is there, but I need to actually build it into this left-hand menu, into the table of contents. And if you look on the left-hand side here, there's an index.rst file. So this is the file format that Sphinx uses to actually define the structure of your documentation. So if I get that index.rst file up, and you can see it's very simple. It's basically saying I want a little in my table of contents tree, I want a small section showing the design guidelines, the Helm charts, the operators, etc. So I need to create something like this for my CTK. So I copy that, I'm going to put it just above the contributions guidance. So I'll call it compliance test kit for CTK, and it's in CTK/README. So this is the source showing the structure of my documentation, and I've already updated and put the README in here. So if I run that build again, it should now build a new version of my documentation. So I'll come in here, I'll run the build again. And one thing this build does, it does check like the referential integrity of all the links within the documentation. And the warning is basically because in some parts of the documentation I refer back to the top index. And because I'm building it clean, of course the top index doesn't exist until I finish the build. And so effectively you're going to get this warning. If I built it again not clean, you wouldn't have a warning. So it's warning me that I've got some links into this index file, and the index file doesn't exist when I build it from scratch. So it seems to have built successfully. If I go into my documentation, into the published version, and view this now, I should see on the left hand side now it includes a compliance test kit, and it's looked in that README file, and actually it then imports that compliance test kit. And when it said it was going to build a table of contents to level 2, basically it's looked at subsections within the README and actually added them as the extra subsections within the index file. So I can actually even jump into sections within my README, and it's showing those different subsections, and it fits nicely within this overall framework. So I can, for example, I've got a forward and next buttons, which will take me into the next section of the documentation. So that's added the documentation. If you notice, I manually copied the README across. Of course, I want to be able to automatically do this just by pressing a button and have all the documentation automatically created. And all I've done is in the Sphinx file itself, there is a Python module where you can extend and add your own custom Python code, and all I've done to date is every time I want to copy a README file or something similar across, I've just added it into this file. So I just need to add a small section into here to automatically copy the README file, and so something like this. I'll go in and and copy the README file into the CTK folder. And the source of it is actually ODA component CTK. Just make sure we get it right. And so that will copy the README file into that folder automatically when I run this Sphinx command line. I also need to copy the images and everything else across, but I'll do that myself. So that's a quick overview of how the documentation works. If you have any other questions, look in that playbook, and there's lots of details about, for example, how to contact people using the Slack channel. Okay, thanks very much.